Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Made to Parade podcast, and I hope you enjoyed the last one that we did. As you know, we're trying to branch out even more with the podcast, trying to cover different elements of our culture, and tonight's episode is no different. So, folks, as I say, we've been widening our kind of reach with Made to Parade and talking about the wider culture, and as a result of that, we're kind of changing up the type of guests that we have, and as you can probably see, we are joined by Lisa Williamson. Lisa, absolutely delighted to have you on Made to Parade.
Here. Thank you very much for having me.
Brilliant. I know you were saying earlier on, you've been buzzing about this when we've been messaging on the thing.
Been really excited, really excited for this, so I have.
Good stuff. And as you were saying on the thing, you're probably nice to be able to speak into the microphone.
It's unusual for me. It's unusual for me to be speaking instead of singing in the microphone.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully you enjoy the experience.
Fingers crossed, you're not too hard on me.
No, I don't think I'll be. I think you're safe. I think you're all right.
I hope so.
No worries. So, Lisa, let's kick this off with take us back to when you grew up and how you kind of connected with the community's culture when you were a kid.
Okay, so I grew up in East Belfast in Bloomfield. And there wasn't so much of a thing as like connecting with the culture when you were a kid. It was just part of your culture. It's just the way it was. You know, July was the best time of the year. Once the 12th was over, summer holidays were over. It was just such a big part of your life. You know, my dad was in the orange, my mum was a wee orange Lil, and my granny. It was just something that was part of your culture. It wasn't something that you chose. It was just something you were born into. Yeah. And it's the way you were. And it was very, very, very enjoyable.
Yeah, because I always remember that whenever I was growing up in East Belfast, I grew up just off Campbellmore Avenue.
Okay.
And
what part of town?
No, I did. The interface was great.
Oh, I know. I lived there for a few years.
We were getting taxis down into the short strand to take us there, right? No, but what I found was whenever you were growing up, there was like the Easter and the 12th and all were very important day things because it was almost like, yes, the bonds, right? But you also had new clothes and all.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Around that time. And it was just like, hey, what kind of clothes are you getting for the 12th?
Yeah.
And all this. And we were always kind of, don't be wearing those. You had to try and sneak the clothes on.
Yeah.
And stuff. I remember my mum going through, where's your 12 clothes? Where's your 12 clothes? And Easter clothes as well. But as you say, it was something that just was there constantly.
And it was so much fun. It was the 12th, like whenever I was a kid, I remember the 11th day, there used to be, even from the 10th day, there used to be kind of atmosphere about the streets. The women were rushing to get their shopping in because the shops closed for a few days then all too. The women were rushing to get their shopping in, and then you got to the 11th day and there were street parties everywhere, and it was just like the streets were lined up with tables and closed off, and it was all kids and it was a lot of fun. And then I always remember being put down for sleep in the 11th afternoon. And I remember being really frustrated about that. All the family was up from I was going to say the country, is Ballymena class as the country?
Yeah, pretty much.
I pulled up a country accent. So
exactly, the culchies.
The culchies come up. So they'd come up in the afternoon and all the kids were put for sleep in the afternoon. It was so frustrating. But then you got up, you woke up that evening and stuff, and it was bonfire time, and the parents were all a wee bit happier. They'd maybe had a wee beer or two, and then you were took to see the boat. It was the smells and everything, the bonfire, and then as you say, up the next morning for your new clothes.
Exactly.
Up at the Screak of Dawn the 12th morning. You could hear the bands in the distance. And
did your mum always give you that telling off thing? Don't you get these clothes dirty now?
I don't think I was the type of kid that needed that telling off.
So I remember always getting that there. You get those clothes dirty, I'm telling you.
You're a wee boy, that's different.
And what about how did that kind of grow then? Because I know when it's integrated into daily life, when did it start to actually mean something to you?
I think it always kind of did. I was aware of, like, you know, there was losses in my family, my dad's family and stuff. I was always kind of aware of that. And it was always, my dad was very passionate about it. He actually lost his brother in Bloody Friday.
Right, okay.
So it was something he was very passionate about. It was something he had a lot of feeling about. It was, he was very big into, although the actual, you know, the Bloody Friday wasn't really mentioned much in our house, but the passion, you know, that came from that, and perhaps even, you know, the bitterness or whatever that came from that was always there with my dad and stuff. But yeah.
When you mentioned the idea of passion, how did it change his behaviour in any shape?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know, in what sense do you mean?
No, I just mean in terms of how he was around the house, how he was with other people.
Yeah, do you mean just in general, or from his brother? Like,
from the obviously losing somebody, and you know.
It was very, very, very strange, because I remember the first time I ever sung a Loyalist song. I was about 17 or 18. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I discovered before then I could sing, and my dad had taken me down to the Welders, to Sylvia, to get me up. As that's the way it was in the day, you know. If you discovered somebody could sing, there was no Britain's Got Talent or anything like that. You were took to the Welders. 13 or 14 on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, get up in front of the crowd.
Sylvia, that's my daughter, she can sing a wee bit, yeah. But I remember the first time I ever then sung a Loyalist song was about 17 or 18. And I remember going and saying to my dad about it, and he was fuming at me. He was raging at me, completely raging at me, and I couldn't understand why. Okay. I was thinking, this man who's so passionate about this, you know, and so angry probably, you know, you could tell over the years there was anger regarding his brother and stuff. But was so dead against it whenever I came back and he'd said to me, don't you ever do that again. And like, I was really shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, like, why? You know, this is, you love this. Why wouldn't you want me to sing this music and stuff? But I think he kind of felt it would put me into a box.
Right.
And it would only be seen for, you know, for that.
Okay.
I suppose he had a point in a way, you know, he did have a point in a way, but did it stop me?
It doesn't. No. We know that it didn't
no, it
stop
didn't stop me.
So maybe that tells us something about you as a person as
stopped
well.
Me for a couple of years. It did stop me for a few years. I did listen to him for a few years, and then I moved in interface.
No worries.
And everything changed.
Well, we'll talk a wee bit about that later on as well, and
yeah.
stuff in that regards, because I know that having talked to some people around this, whenever there's something traumatic that happens, you know, in terms of a loss in the family, and especially being related to the Troubles, that there is this kind of sense of a change that takes place within a person. And it can go a couple of ways, you know, it can go, you know, real bitter, but it can also go really internalized and, you know, really quiet and really, you know, not really like avoiding the subject as a whole. I think
it would have been a bit of both for him. I think, you know, it definitely changed him in a way. He was a lot more, you know, he had a lot of hatred, he had anger in him. He had anger in him as you know, his 18-year-old brother was blew up in a bomb on his first or second day of work. So he had a lot of anger in him. But if the subject was mentioned, that was when the internal thing came in, and he went into himself and clammed up and didn't really want to speak about it. You know, I know his mother didn't leave bed from the day it happened and stuff, you know, She never left bed again from the day that happened.
But it just shows you how those things can kind of impact us. And, you know, and I often hear people talking even now, like going, oh, it's about time you were over this. It's about time you were over this. You know, it's like 30 years, whatever, since the Good Friday Agreement. Like going, do you realise what happened here?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
The thing is, you know, you can be over it too, but it doesn't mean you forget about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the hurt obviously gets maybe less as the years go on, but you don't forget about it.
So that was one aspect of, I suppose, maybe the culture starting to become more than just a daily experience for you.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that you can kind of contribute to becoming even, you know, a deep part of who you are as a person?
That would have probably came at the start. It was just like a love for, you know, it was brought up. I love being a Protestant and I love everything about my culture. So at the start, it was just that at the start. It was just a love, you know, oh, this is great. And I love everything about this and stuff. It became a bit deeper as the years went on, and I seen more, and I became more exposed to it myself. Probably then it became a bit deeper for me.
Yeah, no, it is that. I think, you know, whenever I think about, you know, even just growing up in Tar Street, and for me, it was the bonds that kind of changed things for me.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I remember the first time I like came across the bonds, you know, walking out into Tampere Avenue and seeing all this here, you know, like going, what is this stuff here? You know, what's going on here? I'm being absolutely transfixed by it. You know what I mean? And then whenever I got the opportunity to join a band, I was like, going, that was me 100% hooked. Like, you know, it was just, there was no turning back from that. You know, it was just it became everything to me. It was like learn all the tunes, you know, get my uniform and all that kind of, do what you need to do to get out and walk. And, you know, and then, because you used to pretend when you were growing up, you know, you had people, you would on the street and people would pretend, you'd walk out with pretend flutes and cardboard drums and all that kind of stuff, you know, and it was really into it. But when you actually were part of the whole thing, it just changed your whole sense of community and stuff, you know. So talk to us a bit about this. You've already mentioned a wee bit about when you kind of discovered that you could sing. Talk to us a wee bit more about that.
Okay, so probably, as I was growing up in school and stuff, I was always pushed to the front in all the singing roles, but never really thought too much about it. I would say I was probably about 14 whenever I realised I could, because there was no internet in them days. It wasn't like, you know, you're relying on maybe singing in the back of a flipping church bus or something and somebody going, oh, here, you're all right, you know. So it took me, I was maybe about 13, 14 before I realised. And my dad was a singer as well. He was he sung around pubs and clubs. But if anything, that made him a lot more critical of me. So if I had been singing around the house and stuff, and them days I seen it as just being critical. In my older years, I can see he was actually maybe trying to shape me and teach me my trade a wee bit. But he was very critical. So I was singing around the house and all, and he'd been going, "You're singing through your nose. You're doing that wrong." And I'm like, maybe I'm no good at this at all. But then I started to realise about 14, and then at that point, my voice had obviously matured a bit, and my dad had said, right, okay, I think it's time we maybe take you down and get you a wee song in the Welders and stuff.
Right, okay. Did you ever do any, you didn't take you for any lessons or anything like that?
No.
Did you know?
Oh, no, there was nothing like that in my
Okay.
day.
And did you ever get to see your dad perform?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Lots of
Talk to me a bit
times.
about
He
that.
was amazing. He was like, it was proper hairs on your, hair stand
Right.
up in your arm material.
Right. Well,
He
what
was
kind of-
so very good.
What kind of songs we're talking?
He would have been like Elvis Presley and
Right.
the Everly Brothers and the Righteous Brothers, you know, so that's the kind of stuff I was brought up on. He'd never done it. He had never done any Loyalist singing or anything
Right,
like
okay.
that.
And this was just around pubs and clubs?
Pubs
was
and
it?
clubs, yeah, all like
Very
wee pubs and clubs around East Belfast. Yeah, I always remember, like, I used to love it. I used to get a packet of Tudor Specials, gammon and pineapple brought in every Sunday morning from a Davy and I
There's
singing
a
on a Saturday night. I know.
throwback. Tudor, to anybody who doesn't know that, it's a brand of crisps from way back in the day. There's no,
I don't really show my age now, haven't I?
I think it's great to have someone on who remembers that stuff. So, no, brilliant. Can you remember any times where you were watching your dad and you were like kind of going, that's my daddy?
Oh, loads of times. I remember actually being in he always, we'd have went to the Welders a fair bit, even as I was a bit older, and he always used to sing, it was an Elvis Presley song, and there was a bit in it that said, hush little baby, don't you cry, you know, your daddy has to die, and every time he sung it, he used to always look at me when he sung it, and I used to be like, oh, wow, like that's my dad singing that to me, you know. Yeah.
Brilliant.
He was something else, like he was amazing.
So it's almost like it's in the genes.
Really funny because like my dad's family, all the brothers were singers. There,
Right.
there was I think it was 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and all the brothers were singers, and neither of the 2 sisters could sing a note, which was really strange. And I've got my dad had another family as well, and I think a few of like none of them do what I do either. It's just strange, like maybe like skips people or skips, you know. Strange.
That's like twins skip a generation. That's
One to throw over them, isn't it? I got the voice.
very good. And in terms of then, whenever you started to recognize you could sing, and you were saying you were like there was performances and so, but this was like in school or
Oh
church.
yeah, just
or
like
where
school
was-
and church and stuff like that. It would have been when I was a wee kid growing up. And
So
stuff,
what are we
yeah.
talking here? Like school assembly?
I don't really want to disclose this information, to be honest with you.
Listen, people want to know here.
No, I was actually, my granny my granny lived with us as well, so she had kind of twigged on early doors that I could sing. So she got me into the local Church of Ireland choir,
Right, okay.
church choir with the robes and all the. I'd say it's not really
We
something
do the
I want.
procession and all coming.
Yeah,
I tell you what, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's get my grounding in your, in terms of tunes and songs,
Yeah.
being able to sing with other people and stuff. That's a
it
real.
was all a learning curve, I suppose. But I'm just really, really glad there's no footage of them days and mobile phones weren't really big, and
That's it.
that would have been embarrassing.
And well, I don't know what'd be embarrassing, but I
No,
mean,
trust me, I was there. I know it would.
brilliant. And then obviously you were saying your dad took you down to the Welders,
Yeah.
and you had to go. What was so?
Sunday
Talk to us a bit
afternoon.
about that. Then what did
I
you?
don't think I'll
Actually,
ever forget that.
did you remember what you sang?
My goodness. Now you're asking me. I think it was something really random, like lipstick on your collar, something really old school, really old fashioned.
Connie Francis stuff.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
it was something like that there, yeah.
Brilliant. How did it
Really.
go?
Really well. Then they were all like, oh, this wee girl's only 14. We'll bring her down next week and we'll get her up for a few. Because then it was a bit of a novelty. So I was the wee girl who was coming to the Welders, the wee 14-year-old girl. Oh, have you heard the wee 14-year-old? She can sing and all. So it was a bit of a novelty for a while.
Right.
So that kind of went on for about a year and a half maybe. Where I'd have been going down to Welders maybe once a week, once a fortnight, doing a Sunday afternoon in the Welders, and then I'm going to school in the Monday morning. Just the way things were in them days.
And your teacher asked you what you do at the weekend. Oh, I was just down to Welders.
In the Welders singing.
Where did you end up going to school then? Where were you?
I went to Orangefield, started off in Elm Grove,
okay.
and I went to Orangefield, yeah.
Very good, Orangefield girls then, because it was all.
No, it was mixed school when I
Was
was
it mixed
there.
when you were there? Right, well, you're obviously older than me then. So, because when I was
What do
there,
you mean, obviously?
no, but you're obviously younger than me in terms of that, because when I was at Orangefield, it was separate. I went
Right,
to Orangefield
okay.
Boys,
Right, okay.
and they didn't actually join the schools together until about 2 years after I think I left.
Right, okay.
When did I left in '89, so
What?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what year I left.
So 89 I left, so I was an 84 start. So you were at Elm Grove then in terms of primary, up
Yeah.
at the top of Avonlea then?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. No, I went to Beachfield, which was at the the bottom end of Beachfield.
Oh, I know
Street.
where. I know it well. Yeah.
It was great crack when going to school on an interface as well.
Pretty much.
All you had between you and the other side was a set of railings.
Yeah.
Stuff I made for an interesting lunchtime, I tell you that.
Yeah, I
so.
can imagine. I actually lived around there while that school was still the last couple of years of that school being open.
Yeah, dead on.
Yeah, there wasn't, but at that stage the numbers had started to.
Was that right? Were you in like the Thistle Court direction?
Beachfield Court.
Beachfield Court. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
dead on. Very good. Yeah, because that went through a real kind of tough period. Because I remember at one point Thistle Court just looked like Beirut.
Beirut,
For a while, didn't it?
100%.
It was absolutely
100%.
terrible looking, wasn't it?
100%. Yeah.
Crazy. And then, so it's hard to imagine because I go down even every so often now. I remember taking my kids down doing like a Maid the Parade tour whenever I'd written the book and stuff, and I was showing them the areas, and I was like, was it like this when you? I was like, oh no, it was all open.
Yeah,
There was
actually,
no-
whenever I moved in, it was still open. There was
Yeah.
just the wee two kind of barriers, like triangle shaped
We had,
barriers.
we had nothing. There was
Madrid
nothing
Street,
at the
yeah.
top of Madrid Street,
That's
nothing
right, I
at the
remember that.
bottom of Beachfield Street either. It was just all completely open. And even now today, you go down and look at it and go, good grief.
I know.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy looking, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So how did you then progress on from there? So obviously you've had a few stints down the welders. You've been wheeled out as the wee 14
Wheeled out as that, and then it all kind of, then it was this, then I joined a group. My dad got me like an audition with a group, and I went down, and it was, I was think 16, 17 at the time. My dad got me this audition with a group. It was in D Street Community Centre, the audition was. And I went in, and there was these like, doesn't seem old now, but I was only 16 at the time, remember? So these like kind of 50-odd-year-old men, like ready to audition me. And I was thinking, I get myself into here.
It doesn't sound good there, does it?
No, it sounds,
All right.
sounds even worse, but when I'm saying it like that, yeah. But so I'd done that for about maybe a year, but there wasn't really much work, it was just,
Right.
it was just, to me, that was kind of all just learning my trade. It was just building experience and learning my trade and stuff. And then I got into an all-girl group.
Right.
Aye, it was mad. It was all kind of choreography and fireworks around the stage and matching outfits and very interesting time. Travelled the country. There'd have been cat fights in the toilets over pairs of tights.
Right,
and-
okay. That sounds
yeah,
great fun.
yeah, it was interesting. So that was it. Kind of good. Yeah. Wait, we actually done the Fela one time in the markets too with that.
Oh, way, really?
Swear
Straight up?
now. Swear now in the middle of the markets and the playing fields.
Well, you
Yeah.
hardly were singing.
No. It was just like,
Can imagine
Paul
that.
Jones or something. I don't know. Yeah. But it was funny because they'd said to the girls, they'd said they were very nice, helped us out with our equipment and stuff, and then packed up our equipment at the end of the night, and they said, after they unpacked, where he's all from, and the other girls lied and said, oh, we're from the Armour Road. So they said to me, where are you from? And I was like, well, Peeler wouldn't ask you that now, come on. And they went, oh, listen, no worries, your word's enough, you'll be well looked after. And I was really well looked after. And then at the end of the night, when we finished, they helped us pack up our stuff, and they followed us back and says, we had a lot of equipment then. They said, we'll help you unpack. We'll follow you back in the car, help you unpack and all. And then the girls obviously were snickered because they had told them that they lived in the Armour Road,
aye.
and they actually lived in the Castlereagh Road. But they followed us back and all. We're like, why did you not just be honest?
No, it's one of them things. I think whenever you have, especially at certain times, whenever we're growing up, it wasn't always the most expedient thing
Yeah.
to maybe say where we were from, because there was still, even going into sort of the early 90s, even past the Good Friday Agreement stuff, it still became a thing where mentioning where you lived,
Oh, you don't?
you didn't really want to do
Yeah.
that, because I remember, and there's one of the incidents that I wrote about in my book, and it was the scariest incident, was being in the town on a Sunday and being at a particular bus stop and being asked where he's coming from. And one of the guys that was with me happened to mention where we've been coming from. And this guy just standing there on his own. And I was wearing a baseball top. I had, because I'm Canadian, so I had this Toronto Blue Jays top, but it was like a sky blue that had red and white on it.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, we're like going, right, mate, we need to move.
Yeah.
And there was about 60 people running after us, and we're heading for a bus.
Yeah.
Trying to get on the bus. And the bus driver sees, obviously, the commotion. He he just leaves the bus stop and starts to drive off and everything. It was disaster. Like, you know, I think people forget just how
But that was
scary.
so common. Things
Yeah,
like stories like that were so common, and people forget how recent ago that was.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, it's not like that anymore. But people forget how recent ago that was.
And even now, I think some people are still kind of, you know, wary of saying even where they're from at times, because there's sometimes, and we'll get into this a bit later, but the connotation of coming from like a Protestant or a Loyalist community sometimes is viewed a particular way and
Oh,
stuff, you know what I
100%.
mean? And sometimes people we're afraid to say, well, no, I am from that. You know, it's not quite like that all the time, but there are some elements of that.
Yeah, and probably like, you know, people sometimes maybe even feel ashamed to say, like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's it. And I think that comes to what we'll talk about later as well. It's just, again, how we're being portrayed,
Yeah,
media
definitely.
ways, and the perception stuff that people have there, and the stereotypes.
Yeah.
People love a stereotype.
Yeah,
don't they?
definitely.
It's crazy just how locked in to those that people can get and stuff. You know.
It's easier for people to do that as well. You know, if they don't have the full picture,
Yeah,
they don't know
that's
the full
it.
story, and they're drip fed kind of, you know, a wee bit of something that they don't know the full picture.
Yeah.
It's easier for them to have that kind of
It's a lazy
perception.
thought. It is a lazy
Yeah.
thought process. You know that
It's something we're probably all guilty of in ways too.
I think we are, you know, but unless we actually take the time to develop some level of
Yeah.
understanding, we really can't really say loads about something. It's better to be informed rather than just kind of
Definitely.
just shoot something off the top of your head and look like an idiot. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you're up and you're running about like the I was going to say the prod version of Girls Aloud, but that's not quite what we're having here.
Gee, they weren't even a thing at that point.
Exactly. But you're doing that for a bit. You're running. Is this cover versions?
Yeah, it was
Is
just all cover
yeah.
versions and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I kind of came to the end of the road with that, and I thought I think there was like actual fight in the toilet
Right,
one night
okay.
over a pair of tights, and I thought, what am I doing? What am
Yeah.
I doing? I can't do this anymore. So then I didn't even bother for a long time. Maybe if I was out, I'd have got up and done a song, but it didn't bother. Like,
Yeah.
didn't work the circuit for a good while, and then met my husband, well, my then husband, and I went on to have my first. No, I hadn't even had my first child, I think, but went on to meet him anyway, and moved in with him down in Tempmore Avenue.
Right. Okay.
And that's where I became a lot more exposed to
The stuff.
the stuff, the stuff that was going on around me. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because because obviously in terms of the makeup of the community, the road was kind of split up into different kind of loyalist factions, wasn't it?
Yep.
To a certain point, there was one organization was represented. You could pass a particular street.
Yeah.
Another organization was kind of there. The growing up on the Newton Ards Road was a very interesting scenario growing up. You know, I have to say. So, what was happening in life for you whenever you started to delve more into the sort of the community, the loyalist type singing? What was going on?
I had moved, as I say, I'd met the kid's dad and moved down to Tempmore Avenue, and he lived in a house on the interface and stuff. And I didn't realise, you know, I thought I just loved my culture, but I didn't realise how unexposed I was to the goings on that were more down the road and in interface hours and stuff. I was quite shielded probably growing up in my wee house in Bloomfield, you know what I mean? It was quite shielded from it all. I think my mum done a very good job of shielding me from that too. So it was a bit of an eye-opener whenever I first moved down there, and I think within my first couple of months of living there, it was, at that time, it was said to be the worst riot that had ever happened in Europe. If you probably remember it, in Madrid Street.
Yeah.
For something like 3 days.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah. I remember coming out of the house and like ducking from birds and all. Like there were bricks and stuff. And that was a real eye opener for me. That was a real, I couldn't believe that people were living like that. And I felt, it made me so angry. It made me very, very angry. You know, that it just, the way it had came about, the way it had started. Couldn't believe it. And that was a big turning point. Then I started to get a bit more involved, and before I went to a Seish Baish, it was just good fun.
Yeah.
But now when I was going to a Seish Baish, I really meant it. I was angry, you know, I was definitely angry.
Yeah.
And I meant it.
And I think there's an element of that, but when you start to experience things, and I think that's the same on both sides of the community.
100%.
When you start to experience things where, hey, I feel like I'm under attack. I feel like, you know, I'm feeling threatened. And what we normally do in that there is we react one of a number of ways. One is that we can kind of try and ignore it, or we go headlong in and just kind of, you know what, I'm standing up for what I believe in. I'm standing up to protect my community. And you can understand where that has led some people at times.
Yeah.
Maybe don't approve of behaviours that sometimes that
100%
I've
agree
got
with
there, but I think you can understand sometimes where people's motivations have come from.
Where the
when
anger
you've been in the
came
middle of
from,
that, yeah.
100%,
Crazy,
yeah.
sort of. Because I remember the first time that I moved into Thar Street, and there was a rat at the bottom of the street, and I was like, "Oh, our area must be really popular. What's all these people heading down past the house for?" There's like hundreds of people there. And then the next thing you know, there's cars getting burnt out, and I'm like, going,
Yeah.
"What? It's nuts." And then my mom's like, "Don't you be getting involved in the rat?" And it's like, I love the way my mum used to deal with that. She's like going, "If you get yourself involved in the rat, I'll beat the head of you." It's like kind of going, right, so violence with violence.
It's just the way it was back then, wasn't it?
Don't you get caught up in that? Don't you get caught up in that? But sometimes you couldn't help it.
Well, when you live down there, you can't, and that's what I discovered. To be honest with you, as I say, I'd been very good at being kept away from it, or not exposed to it. We living just 2 minutes down the road, and I wasn't exposed to it. But when you live there, you can't help.
Yeah, you can't, and it's right in. For me, growing up there, you're right in the heart of absolutely everything.
Yeah.
It's the main top avenue. The bond, that was the main place for the bonds, was everybody gathered there.
East Belfast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was a lot more shops and stuff going up out there.
Yeah, there was definitely.
Than there is now. The road's dead now.
Yeah.
And even now I look at it and go out, with parades, and it used to be 10, 11 deep on the street and stuff. Now you're lucky you get 10, 11 people hanging around the street corner and stuff. It was crazy, and I always thought there was a greater sense of community back then as well.
I think so as well.
People felt more. You felt like you were more connected, and people actually looked out for you.
Yeah.
Whereas now it kind of feels a wee bit. Everybody just looks after themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't really bother so much.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
So you're there. You're starting to get exposed to stuff. This is post you singing your first Loyalist song?
Yeah, because that had been like a few years previous that I'd done that. And the first one I'd done, say, what my dad had been raging about, that was just Ballymacart Defenders Band Hall in the Albridge Road. I got up, and it's, I never forget, I got up and sung Ulster Garden, and my dad had been raging. So I didn't sing an Or Loyalist song again. And then living on the interface, and I was going to Seish Baishes, and then I met the kid's dad and all, and he obviously knew I could sing and all. And it was in one of the wee clubs down the road one night, and Davy Patterson was singing,
right, okay,
like a wee Seish Baish, and he was like, "Can I get you up and do one?" And I was going, "John, I couldn't, I definitely couldn't." No, and he went up and said to Davy. Next thing I knew, I was on the stage singing flipping Ulster Story or something. And then it was kind of like a wee moment where Davy was like, you can sing," and I went, "Well, I know," and he was like, "Do you fancy?" I think at that point, I can't remember the whole right way about it, but I think there was something Mary had been singing with Davy, and they were part of battalion, and then Mary was stepping back, or she was cutting down or something, but whatever way it came about, just so happened at that time I'd got up maybe then on 3 different occasions and sung a wee Loyalist song with Davy. And then the opportunity arose, and Davy said, do you fancy maybe taking this a wee bit further and doing something with it? And I thought, yes, I do. Yeah, why not? Let's do this. And that's where it kind of started then.
So how do you kind of prepare him for that there? Because you look at some of that stuff. Were they playing with a live band and stuff at that
So
stage,
there was 2 different kind of things going on at that time. You had Platoon, which had been many different people over the years, and had been made up of a lot of different people, but you had your core members of Platoon. And then Davy and Mary were a different group called Battalion. So although I started off with Davy, it was part of Battalion, then I would have guessed it with Platoon. So I didn't. Okay. So I was just a wee loose one.
You just flirting.
Sing over them.
Flirting with it between the two there. I don't know. It's kind of going. It's like in my head there.
A nice term to put that, to be honest.
I was going to say something else. I don't think I'm not. So basically, you're kind of getting involved here.
Yeah, I'm getting involved. So Davy was the first one. He kind of took me. I would say there was 2 people who were very influential in kind of teaching me my trade, as in Loyalist singing, and that would have been Davy Patterson and Tommy McCune.
Okay.
But very, very differently.
Right.
Very, very differently.
What differentiates what you learn from both of those people?
Well, Davy was Davy Patterson was very regimented, a bit more disciplined, stricter. He would have given me a bit more of a hard time. Tommy taught me how to work the crowd. Okay. Tommy taught me how to the charisma part, and he also told me how to take a 15-minute longer break.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, when you're singing for hours on end, sometimes a wee bit of extra 5 minutes here and there comes in handy.
Yeah. Tommy was very much, he taught me how to milk the system a wee bit, how to tell them a wee story, get you an extra 5 minutes, and then just drag that story on for another 10 minutes.
But did you get into the way where inviting somebody else up to sing also gives you your way? Doesn't,
but then you have to think very carefully about doing that, because you just never know how that's going to turn out.
Exactly. You bring up when you get one of those nightmare scenarios, the person can't sing at all, and you're like kind of going, cringe.
And then you also get, I get a lot of gigs where people would want to sing where they don't realise it's a microphone and they feel they need to scream down it. And you're
crazy,
oh my goodness, no.
I know. So you're starting to learn the craft and stuff. You're starting to get into the whole idea of, I suppose, honing your voice, making sure you're able to sing for long periods of time. Did you get into anything in terms of trying to protect your voice and look after your voice or anything? Right, okay.
Alcohol. That's the way it was back then. Do you know what I mean? We were doing me and Davey were doing a lot of travelling. We were maybe doing Scotland 6-7 weekends a year where we're singing in Scotland. Drambuie and
well, that Drambuie you can live with a wee bit.
A bit of honey in that, so that makes
sweetness there and stuff, you know.
So it makes it okay, no, I didn't really do anything. When you're young, you don't think of anything like that. You're protecting your voice or whatever. Yeah,
it's probably something you could later on down the line.
Now I think about it all.
Now you're kind of obviously thinking about what you do beforehand. We'll talk about maybe what your warm-up routines and stuff are now. So when did that all start to get really popular? Because obviously there was, you started singing with Battalion and you were kind of flirting with Platoon. When did you kind of transfer over and did you become exclusive or did you just
I kept non-exclusive,
Okay.
I just,
You were living in an open performance relationship?
I would say it was more kind of with Davey and Battalion and stuff. And then I worked for a good lot of years with Davey and up and down the country, all over Scotland and stuff, and had a really good time with them. And then, but I actually at that point I didn't even own my own equipment.
Right. Okay.
It was all Davey's equipment.
Right.
And then I say I would have guessed it with Platoon every now and again. And then this weekend, Davey came and he says, "I've had enough. I'm retiring." So I thought to myself, "Oh shoot, what am I going to do? I don't have that. Well, that leaves me. I have no equipment. I don't know what I'm meant to do." So somehow I come up with a brainwave to make a CD.
Right.
Just a wee all Loyalist songs. And that was the change of everything. That's when I would say everything changed. Because up until then I would say right up until that point I'd all been learning my trade and learning how to do things and everything else. Up until that point, and then from there on I was on my own.
So you go in with what? Backing tracks, or were you in with?
I went in with backing tracks. Found a wee guy down in Bangor to record it for me. He was Chris, a lovely man. He was recording a lot of band CDs at the time, and I didn't even think. I thought I'd be lucky if it sells about 10 copies or something. Like I'm never going to get the money for equipment out of this CD. And I actually went to my uncle and borrowed the money to make the CD. It was like I don't even know what I meant, if I'm doing the right thing or if this is going to work out. And little did I know that still to this day, there's still orders come in for that CD. I still have to do a bulk order for that CD to China every maybe 3 months or so.
It's a wonder he's not ripping them off himself.
Well, everybody knows China knows that he's ripping somebody off, so it's probably me.
No, I have to watch what we say there because obviously China's had a wee bit of a religious conversion experience.
Listen, just because he's got God on his side doesn't mean he's not ripping me off.
Okay. Maybe edit this week. I don't want my wheelie bins set on fire.
China couldn't reach your wheelie bins.
So what was your first CD called?
The first one the second one was Sharon. It's not ridiculous. I don't even know the name of my first CD.
There you go. And it's reprinted loads and everything.
I know. I think the first one was either called Sharing the Culture or Keeping the Faith. Something along them lines.
Right, okay. And what was the experience in the recording studio like? Was that a big change for you? Because I know sometimes when people go into a recording studio, maybe with live musicians it can be kind of different. But if you were going in with backing vocals, did you find it was harder to kind of get into because you're standing there with a set of headphones on? And
I remember the recording studio that we used, I had actually been in before.
Right.
But with the girl group, we had been doing like covers for, I don't even know if you remember this, Energy 106.
The dance track. The radio station. Yeah.
So we had done a few wee covers for them. So I had actually already been in that recording studio. So I was okay. I was comfortable enough with being in the recording studio. But I remember feeling a sense of like embarrassment, actually, to be honest. I feel that I was at one stage that I was doing Loyalist stuff.
Right.
I'd went from going into doing tracks for Energy 106 and I was now in like recording a Loyalist CD. But that lasted for about 5 minutes. And then I thought to give myself a good talking to and I was like, why are you ashamed do not be ashamed of this. Own it.
Exactly.
This is what you're doing, you know.
Brilliant. And how many tracks did you put on the first CD?
I think there was about 12 in the first one. I think there was about 12 in each one, maybe.
Okay, cool.
Trying to leave myself enough room for to do another one.
Right, that's it. I don't. I leave it so that there's enough of the repertoire and things like that there. It's no, and then so when did that take off? Because obviously it did take off for you because you were kind of thinking along the lines of, hey, nobody's going to want to buy this.
Within the first couple of weeks, I'd had like I think maybe 3 or 4 bulk orders off China for 100 at a time, and then it started like a thing online, you know, where I was selling them online too, and I couldn't keep up. I was actually missing deliveries and everything because I couldn't keep up with the amount that was coming in. Crazy. And going out, and I kind of let this sit for a few weeks just doing this, just like kind of working the CD and, you know, selling it, getting down to China or whatever. And then it was at the end of the few weeks, I kind of thought, right, I'll need to sit and take stock, work out what I've paid out, what I have left or whatever else. And I couldn't believe it. I went the next day and bought all myself brand new equipment.
So it worked then?
It worked. I worked, and it was like, and that was me. Then that was me. I was like, I'm able to go out and sing now. I'm able to go out and do this now if I want to. Or
where did you get your tracks from? Your backing tracks from? Who did them for you?
The first lot of them were done. Davy Patterson gave me them.
Right. Okay.
The first lot. A few of them. There's a guy I know who I would actually pay to make them for me. You know, if even now, like, you know, different Rangers ones and stuff, I would just pay him to make them for me. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Everybody asks me that.
No, I think it's interesting because whenever you hear backing tracks at times, you know,
some of the backing tracks are horrendous.
Well, I wasn't going to say
no,
that.
Listen, let's be honest, they're absolutely horrendous. The beats are shocking in them.
You know, and they all have that similar kind of wackadoo kind of feel to them.
100%, they're awful.
So do that again. It sounds like a first. No, but I think, you know, sometimes when somebody would have got up to singing and you hear the backing track, you know, there was times that reminded me of, you know, hearing really terrible singers at church and stuff, you know, and you're like, oh my God, really? I can't believe this person's up singing this. And then everybody's on their feet, getting well into it, and like, oh God, we must be easily pleased at times. You know what I mean? But how has that progressed for you over the years in terms of the quality and the style of your tracks?
Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you. A lot of the tracks I'm using are still the tracks that I started using whenever I first started doing this. So they were shit then and they're shit now. I would say my singing's improved over the years. So that maybe just takes a look off the track.
So what you're saying is you need to put some new, fresher versions of these together?
I think so.
Brilliant. Well, we might have something interesting to talk about later on then. That's good. No, so this kind of kicks off. So you sell them at gigs as well, then? Are you trying to get, you know, so...
Selling them at gigs, I'm kind of promoting them online. China's selling a load of them. There's a shop up the Shankill selling them. There's a shop in Sandy Row selling them at this point. I can't keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
The guy who made the CD for me is like getting tortured by me constantly. I'm like, I need more CDs, I need more CDs.
You're selling these things at gigs, they're flying off the shelf or off the table or whatever else. Yeah. That's got to be a nice feeling as well.
It was an amazing feeling. It was definitely, I couldn't believe it. It was a big shop, but it felt good. Yeah. It felt good. See, walking into that music shop the next day, buying my equipment, just outright, felt amazing.
Brilliant. And I think the other thing is that people sometimes don't always realise, you know, what's involved in even in the creation of a CD, you know, you booking the studio time, getting your artwork and stuff sorted out and everything. And did you get someone in to do artwork and stuff?
Yes, I got somebody in to do the artwork. It was a friend of my ex-husband's and done the artwork for us and stuff. But even that, you know, there was constantly going back and forth, approving things and getting sizings for the artwork. Was stuff I'd never experienced before.
Because you've got to have the fold in the right place. The text size has got to be right, and then you've got to get how it's printed onto the actual CD itself and all that kind of stuff. There's a whole load of things that go into that. What was it like when you heard your CD for the first time?
I remember getting the master copy. I'm usually quite uncomfortable with hearing my own voice, to be honest with you. I struggle with listening to my own voice. I struggle with hearing myself sing. I hear something different than everybody else hears. All I hear is the bum notes and everything else. But obviously a master copy is not like that. And it's been I don't know if they auto-tune it, but I would assume that they slightly auto-tune it or something, you know.
It all depends on the studio, I suppose, you know. If they
say that they didn't auto-tune it and that's just on me.
It could be,
I think it is. I think it's definitely on me. You know, that definitely didn't auto-tune it. But no, I remember listening to it for the first time. I was extremely proud. I was very, very, very proud. I couldn't believe it was me. I was thinking, I can't believe that's me. What?
Yeah. Did you listen to it over and over again?
No.
No, just do it once?
Just once. I don't need to listen to my... See if you walk around anywhere in East Belfast or any part of Belfast in July, I am blasting out from everywhere. It's very bizarre. I'm like maybe walking down the street and I can hear my voice coming from that party, that street party, that bonfire party. And my lips are moving. It's very, very strange. Even weirder for my kids too, to be honest.
Brilliant. There's Lisa, she lip syncs.
My mum will be like, oh, you're singing around in the corner of the night in the street party. I'm like, no, I'm just here.
Very good. So in terms of the likes of the times that you were singing with Platoon and Battalion, obviously there's got to be some standout moments that have come from those experiences.
There was lots of memories made. There was lots of standout moments and lots of memories made. With Platoon and Battalion, lots of friends made, lots of stories that I wouldn't be able to tell, I'll never be able to tell.
Right. Well, that is late night with me, no,
There was, lots of stories. There was lots of traveling involved, so you can imagine there was lots of stories and stuff. But for me, the proper big experiences then came after that. Right. And that they're the ones that for me that really, really, really stand out.
So they came post.
Yeah. Whenever I got out my own, that's when the big experiences started coming.
Okay. So
because before then I had then I'd always been, I was part of a machine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I was waiting my turn to sing, or I was, which is just the way it was. It was just, I was learning my trade and I was there in the background just doing my wee thing, getting up every now and again, doing my wee, waiting my turn to sing my song or whatever.
Did you find, even in those periods when you were experiencing that, did the crowd react differently to you than they did to the rest of the group?
At the start, yes.
Right, okay.
It took me a long time. It took me an awful lot of years, and it took me a lot of years singing wee dives, and all the Wickus gigs and all, they build that up. It took an awful long time, yeah. At the start, they weren't interested in me at the start. They had no interest in me whatsoever. That took years to build up.
Right, and then... Was it a song changed that, or was it just a notoriety, or
it was just exposure? I think it was just constantly keeping on and going and doing it, and maybe people hear me like maybe if they didn't want to give me a chance because people had their favorite wee singers or whatever, know, and they maybe didn't want to give me a chance, but then the more I kept being there and kept singing, they had to listen to me type thing, So I don't know, it was just something that kind of built up and built up and built up. Okay,
and that obviously then whenever you did go out on your own, that's obviously stood you in good stead because people were like kind of going, we know what we're getting here.
Most people at that point had heard me, but they'd heard me as part of something else, maybe doing one or two.
Okay.
But most people at that point had heard me.
So you're out solo. You've already mentioned there a wee bit about that's when the big things started to happen. What are we talking about in terms of the big experiences? The
Ulster halls, the city halls, there's so many standout ones, but obviously the Ulster Hall was one of the main ones, one of the biggest experiences for me, and I think I've done in there twice, maybe 3 times. That's definitely one of the standout ones. I used to do Orange Fest in the City Hall every 11th of July as well. Really, really enjoyed that. Done a few things for the Orange Order in the City Hall actually. But that's when that kind of work started happening.
Right.
The bigger venues, the more sold out venues, and it just started really kicking off then.
So talk us about the Ulster Hall then.
Yeah.
So what was the deal with the Ulster Hall? What was the event? What were you doing? What was happening?
The first one was the 100th centenary. The centenary. Oh my goodness!
You're all right. You're all right. So it's the centenary.
The centenary for the big parade and stuff. So it was the night before. It was the first one that they'd had in the Ulster Hall.
This is what, 2012?
Yeah.
Okay.
2012, yeah. And they'd asked me beforehand, would I be interested in singing? Obviously, I bit their hand off. I was like, 100%, of course I would. And took me over to the Ulster Hall like a couple of days before it, and they were saying, "Oh, like, do you want to hang in your dressing room?" And I was going, "What do you mean?
Like a wee raider?
What do you mean? Like, we're gonna have white M&Ms and room temperature water?" And they were like, "No, seriously, do you want to hang?" I couldn't believe it. There's been a few moments like that, or kind of pinch yourself moments.
Yeah.
I couldn't really quite believe it was happening.
And what was the experience like when you came out on this day? Because obviously the Ulster Hall is an iconic venue.
Definitely.
In Northern Ireland. When you think of the people that have played there and have sang there, like I know for me being into the rock music, the fact that that like Led Zeppelin played like Stairway to Heaven for the very first time on that stage, for me, like kind of just blows my mind.
Yeah.
What was that like when you walk out onto the stage and go, I'm singing at the Ulster Hall? It was
a very, very surreal experience. It went that day and done a sound check and stuff, and I had that whole feeling on the stage that day where I was standing doing my sound check, and I was like, oh my goodness, like so many people have stood here, and here's me, like wee Lisa from flipping down the road, standing on the stage. How is this happening? So that night, they came and got me and told me I had 5 minutes to go before it was going on, and I was standing at the side. I was standing at the side door of the stage, and I was heaving. I was actually heaving
Really?
with nerves.
Wow.
There was a bucket sitting handy. I was thinking, I'm literally about to boke in this bucket at any second. And then just before I had any time to think about it, I got pushed from behind. I don't even think my legs were moving, to be honest with you. I think it was just kind of standing there, like stuck. And I got pushed from behind. And I just remember walking out, and I could not see a thing. I could see the first row of people. That was it. I could hear all this noise, but I could not see a thing apart from this front row of people. And then I heard somebody from way down the hall shouting, "Go on, Lisa!" And that was it. That was when I relaxed and smiled and went, "These are my people. Just relax."
Yeah. Did you have issues with nerves at all?
Oh, massively, and people be really shocked about that.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
massively.
So what way would that have impacted you in terms of, obviously you were saying there about maybe having a wee bit of bit of heaving going on, but was it always like that for you for every performance?
Yeah.
You're kind of thinking, God, I don't know where I can do this.
Oh, I question myself all the time, even still to this day. I still get nerves to this day.
Yeah.
No matter what the gig is, no matter where it is, no matter how small it is, I still get nerves.
Right.
So it's kind of like all day I'll be really stressed. The kids will avoid me.
Right, okay.
Kids will avoid me the day when I'm singing, because especially if it's a big gig. Even coming to do this tonight, the kids were just well and truly staying out of my road.
Right, okay.
Because I would get a bit stressed when I'm nervous and a bit,
Well, a wee bit of nerves is all right, like, isn't it? You know what I mean?
My dad used to always say to me, if the nerves ever stop doing it.
Stop doing it, yeah.
Because that's what gives you the adrenaline.
Yeah,
That's what the buzz is.
I think if the nerves start to overtake
Yeah.
and become where it moves into a sense of panic,
Yeah.
that's where it becomes an issue. But I think as your dad said, I think with most performers, I'll say if there isn't a touch of nerves at all, that's when things can go really, really wrong, isn't it?
Go forward with it, isn't it?
Well, there's an element of that you could get bored with it, or you've just got really cocky.
Yeah.
And I don't need to rehearse. I don't
Yeah.
need to do anything. And I think that's, it's a tight lane to walk sometimes, with I should be confident in what I'm doing. And yet you're like, I'm a blubbering mess before I even start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know I've had that a few times. I used to perform with other bands, like playing guitar and stuff like that there. And it was, regardless of the size of the crowd, it was always that 10, 15 minutes just before you're due to go on. And you're like, good grief, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And I remember we did a gig, our band did a gig down in Tala, just in terms of Dublin. And it was one of the biggest gigs that we had done. And we were the support act for 3 other bands.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out just to the side of the stage and going, oh shit.
Yeah. That's the worst thing you can do. I do it all the time. I have a wee cheeky out, and then I'm like, why did I even look? And
then it was like, you get up on the stage and everything, and it's like you say, sometimes you can't see anything at all. And sometimes that's a blessing, to be honest with you. You just kind of go, I'm just going to rip through these songs, whatever else, and let's get out of here. But it can be a really daunting place.
Yeah.
The thing for me is having a band behind you, you can kind of rely on certain people that kind of pick out. But if it's you on your own, like there's nothing else for it. You've got to show up with the goods, like.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a bit snickered if I don't.
But so that was one of. So Ulster Hall's one big experience.
Yeah.
City Hall, you were saying, was another, and those were linked just with the Orange Fest.
Yeah.
Was that just performing in front of like a specific type of crowd, or what was that?
It was like I think it would have been a lot of people, dignitaries maybe, politicians. Paul Clark was always there. Always. He was at everything.
Not everything, I say.
But how iconic is Paul Clark? Do you know what I mean? That's how you know it's the 12th of July. When you see Paul Clark walking down and he gets that big cheer. Have you ever heard the cheer he gets in front of the band?
I know.
I was at the field a few years ago and they were all shouting, you TV.
Very good. No, but it is, you're all right. It's like he has to be there at times, and, but in terms of then anything else that really stands out for you, so there's the Ulster Hall, there's the City Hall.
Then it started, more recently I've been kind of doing a bit of work with Rangers Hall of Famers.
Okay.
So that's been taking me abroad. Like I've been getting to do Benidorm and a few other places like that with that, and that's pretty special kind of work.
Interesting stuff. So whereabouts in Benidorm are you rocking?
The Ibrox Bar. Where else?
Well, sure, right. Oh, there's the Northern Ireland Supporters Bar there.
Yeah.
The
way it's been done the last few years is they have like a couple of gigs in the Ibrox Bar, and then they have like a big question and answer in one of the last year it was the Marina Hotel.
Right, okay, yeah.
The year before it was that it's like Benidorm Palace or something. So they're big, they're really big events over there
Yeah.
too.
You haven't been over for the Benidorm 12 or anything?
No. Sure, how could I go for
Well,
anywhere
that's
for
it.
12?
That's a really
My busiest time of the
I
year.
know it's a debate for people over here. It's like you do want, people
Yeah.
that just head over to Benidorm for the 12 and
Yeah.
stuff, because obviously they'll have that.
Yeah, it's
Makes-
not even an option
It's
for
a
me.
makeshift bond. You're staying. Is it your busiest time of the
My
year?
busiest
Then?
time of the year, yeah.
Brilliant. So you have to block out July and August,
Yeah.
for you, just to kind of go right. It's going to be gigs central, is it?
It's just put your head down over the 12th now. It's just a case of like kind of put your head down.
When does that start happening for you in terms of when does the phone start going off the hook in
It doesn't
regards
stop.
to that?
It doesn't, honestly, it doesn't stop. There's a want for it all year round.
Uh-huh.
Personally, I prefer to do a bit of ordinary music come, the end of marching season.
Sure.
So I'm available for weddings and bar mitzvahs and anything else.
Okay, well, we'll make sure we get your
Yeah,
contact
get that
details
out.
up on the screen and stuff there. Sure.
No, but yeah, there's a demand for it all year round for definite, especially traveling to Scotland and England. There's a demand for it all year round. But obviously, come Easter time, my phone starts ringing off the hook
Okay.
from Easter to September. That's
It's solid then?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose at the end of the day, I mean, if the phone's not ringing, then...
Oh, it's not a bad complaint to have.
It's good to be busy and
Yeah.
good to be in terms of that popularity, because
Yeah.
how long have you actually been doing this kind of gig now?
Well, I'm 42 now, so you're talking a good 22 years.
Right, okay. So it's
Say
a
22
considerable
years.
chunk of your life has been
Definitely.
taken up with this,
With that kind of, with
With
the
that
latest
style of
music, yeah.
stuff, aye.
Mhm.
I was debating whether I ask this question or not.
Oh.
No, I don't think it's not on the list, the ones that I give you.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not for your phone number. I think. No, you're right. But do you ever get up on stage and think this set list really needs to change? You ever get
All the time.
bored with what you're
All
singing?
the time. All the time. I actually am doing a lot more ordinary music now. And even within Loyalist gigs, I've started adding a normal section of music
Right, okay.
because I feel that it is a bit dated now. I've been looking at different ways how I could go about that, how I could remake old Orange tracks or old kind of cultural music.
You ever thought about doing new stuff?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have thought about doing new stuff, yes, but it's, yeah.
What's holding you back there?
I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't know. It's trying to work out what's the best thing to do at the moment, or, because it seems to be going on a very, the want is there for it as much as it ever was, but the gigs have significantly changed over the years for definite.
Okay. And
Although there's still a want. Right, so before, when Loyalist gigs would have been anywhere in Belfast, as soon as you went from 5 o'clock, they were standing outside waiting. There's not the same popularity at them.
Uh-huh.
There's not the same enthusiasm at them. There's still plenty of it, and there's still a want and demand for it, but it's just not the same as what it was.
Okay. So the atmosphere's kind of changed a wee bit there
Yeah,
in terms
it's
of
a new generation of people going to it. If you look at even the young ones that go to it now, have a very, very different attitude than what the young ones did
Sure.
years ago. They're which I think is a really good thing, by the way, to be honest with you. They're happy to, interact with all religions, during the week, and still go to their South Spice on a Saturday night, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, no, I think you need that.
Yeah, but it's obviously changed the dynamics of the gigs, and it's now trying to work out how you go about trying to change with that.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a difficult place to be, because you're kind of like going, hey, the bread and butter is this, but yet maybe there's room for something else to develop there.
And if you do new music too, what do you write about? Do you?
Well, this is it, and I think, but I definitely think that there's something there. I think there's a gap in terms of the scene, especially in that type of scene, for there to be new contemporary style songs.
I believe it needs to be modernised. I really believe it needs to be modernised.
I think even some of the older stuff definitely could do with a bit of a lift in terms of the style of music that's there. Because when you think of it, you almost think of almost like old style country music is really where the vibe seems to be with a lot of it. Or it just seems, it does seem a bit dated. And I think for me, I would love to be able to be in a position to go, well, could we bring together a group of musicians, some singers, and say, listen, what are some of the most popular songs? What's the theme? And could we actually write some new stuff
Yeah.
that would be along those kind of themes, but yet still get people singing along? And I
Yeah.
think I'd love to see that happening. I'd love to see
Yeah.
there to be a birthing of some new songs, but like with the bands where they're always kind of reinterpreting tunes or they're coming up with their own and all this kind of stuff. I think that type of scene maybe needs a wee injection of that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. It definitely needs modernised. You might have just come up with a new idea of how to do it.
I don't know. I mean, it's because I remember I had an idea ages ago, and I actually missed out on getting funding for it. Was about trying to tell the story of the First World War and the song through a mixture of brand new songs, reinterpreted tunes from the time, and also coming up with some new like original flute pieces and things like that, and trying to mix them together to come up with a whole project. And I remember being really excited about, the idea of that.
Yeah.
And then I got a hint, well, put the application in. And then obviously it was rejected and was like,
Yeah.
kind of going, I got dejected and I was like, kind of going, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go any further with that. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think that there's definitely scope
Yeah.
for something like that to happen.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody out there, interested in being involved in a bit of a songwriting circle here or coming up with something, get in touch with it, because I would love to. I'd love to pull something like that together. I think
No,
it'd be
I
amazing,
think it would be great, so I think it
so
would be great.
so in terms of, obviously, you've sang all over the place.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go through best gig, worst gig,
Oh.
funniest thing that's ever happened to you, and I understand there's stuff you can't talk about. So within reason,
Yeah,
come up
yeah.
with the funniest thing that you've come up with on stage.
On stage, right? Funny things that have happened. Oh my goodness, there's been quite a few embarrassing things. I've had the usual, like, wardrobe malfunctions. Was actually sick on stage once too.
Really?
Yep.
Well, given the fact that you get nervous before going on, that's maybe not a surprise.
Well, it was the first and only time that's ever mid-song.
You didn't see somebody in the crowd or anything like, oh, what?
I actually think I was blocked that night. I think that's what happened, to be honest with you. But yeah, I was sick one night on stage, halfway through a song. Can't believe it, yeah.
Crazy.
Turned around, was sick, and just wiped my mouth and continued singing. I didn't really have a choice. There was nothing I could do. It was either like just stop or carry on singing.
That's it. Think of the money, Lisa. Think of the money.
Yeah. Funny thing, probably one of the funniest places I've been asked to sing was on top of a bonfire.
Right.
That was an interesting one, and I actually agreed to it because I thought they were joking with me.
Right.
So these guys that came and says, "Oh, we're going to get you on top of the bonfire singing," and I was like, "Oh, no problem, no sweat, we'll do that on top of the bonfire." And then they came back to me and like to confirm details, and I was like, "Well, hold on,
I thought they were joking.
I thought this was a joke. Like, let's talk about this. I don't see me standing on top of a bonfire singing." I was like, "I don't understand the logistics of this.
How's this happening?
How are we getting me up there?" And it was so matter of fact, like,
What the
cherry
like
picker?
a cherry picker for you?
Cherry picker. I was like, "So where am I standing when I'm up there?" We're going to build you a stage. I was like on top of the bonfire, and then obviously I was thinking to myself, I said, "So what happens if, like, somebody accidentally throws a petrol bomb at the bonfire? Next thing, I'm the effigy at the top of the bonfire, it going up in flames." That's probably the most bizarre place I've ever been asked to sing, like, to be fair. Best gig would have to be the Ulster Hall.
Right,
Has to be. That's the most standout kind of experience of my life. Worst one.
Like, I'm thinking like the absolute one that you went and you kind of went, why did I even?
There's been quite a few. There's been quite a few gigs I went into and thought to myself, I actually think, that the Knee Breakers was based in this place.
I don't care.
You're looking and there's like unsavory characters kind of sitting everywhere looking at you, glaring at you, sorry. There's been quite a few. Like, I wouldn't say so much bad gigs. There's been quite a few bad experiences at gigs over the years, but not so much bad gigs. Not bad gigs. Maybe a few bad things have happened over gigs over the years. Like, normal things that happen everywhere and anywhere. It wouldn't be the first time I've seen a bar brawl,
Yeah, but that's not just, indicative of anything. That's indicative of everywhere. That's gigs
everywhere,
all over
yeah.
the place. I mean, that's just,
100%,
there's a bar somewhere where someone's getting a paint thrown in their face or something,
Yeah.
It's happening, do you know what I mean? So, in terms of, whenever you mentioned way at the very beginning about your dad not being too keen on you doing this because he was worried about you probably getting pigeonholed, or stereotyped as this. Do you feel that is what's happened?
100%. 100%, definitely.
How do you feel about that?
I struggled with it over the years, to be honest with you. I was very, like, I remember when when the term Loyalist Lisa came about, and I remember the first time somebody actually said it to me, and said about me, call me Loyalist Lisa, and I was like, don't call me that. That's not my name. I was really offended, and I struggled with it for a while. I didn't want to be seen as that, but then I was like, well, Lisa, well, that's what you're doing. You know, you have to own it. There was a lot of talking to myself about that and things, but now I'm not ashamed of it one slight bit. You know, it's what I do. It's what I've done. It's not all I do, but it's a part of me, and I have no shame over it whatsoever. And
you've a few kind of Northern Irish celebrity people who are kind of into it, and the Loyalist Lisa, aren't they?
Right, well, apparently Shane Todd is obsessed, by the way. Yeah, they actually give me, I was quite shocked that Paddy McDonald knew exactly who I was.
Right.
As soon as I started
talking. It doesn't surprise me.
It surprised me. He knew more about me than William Thompson did.
Right, okay.
Which shocked me.
Well, I'm going to say that won't surprise me either.
So they give me a wee bit of a mention on their podcast. Shane had said he was obsessed. He actually called me, which I think is absolutely hilarious, the Protestant Nathan Carter.
Well, there's a title.
I'm taking that as a compliment. I'm taking that. And I'm running with it.
Maybe that's a title of a new album.
Lisa Williamson, the Protestant Nathan Carter.
You have to write a song called that.
Yeah, we shared it to Shane.
Brilliant. So, what have they been saying about you on the podcast? Because obviously his podcast is quite popular. And
well, they actually played a wee clip with me. They got my name wrong at the start. They were calling me Emma. They were talking about, it was along the basis of they were asking about, simply the best being sung at a club, and they were asking, is it sung like a football chant, or is it sung? And Paddy McDonald was like straight away, here, wait, there is actually a girl that does that. She goes and she sings the songs, but like she sings them proper. And she was like, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah. So, but they were just saying about, they were very complimentary towards me. I'll put it that way. Yeah. They were very complimentary.
Because they're well known for obviously taking the piss out of all sorts of stuff.
First time, whenever I got a call, it was actually my cousin phoned me, and she was like, Lisa, you're never going to believe this. Shane Todd's talking about you in his podcast. And I was like, you are shitting me. There's no way. There's no way. What he said, my whole heart sunk. And I thought these guys are going to annihilate at me here. And then I went on and listened to it myself, and I was pleasantly surprised. So they weren't too bad.
Well, that's good though, isn't it?
That's the thing again, where I've been stereotyped, because people just see me as, Loyalist Lisa, the girl who sings. So I must be very sectarian, and I must be very bitter, and I must be, because I'm there singing loyalist songs. But that's not the case whatsoever. So that's where the panic comes in with me, because I'm aware that people have a perception of me.
Perception, and we'll end off with a wee bit of a chat about that in a minute or two.
Yeah.
In terms of how those perceptions and what we could potentially be doing, I suppose, to maybe change those. But one of the things I did want to ask you about was, what's the future hold for you? What does 2 years, 3 years down the line look like for you? Have you thought that for?
Yeah. Briefly kind of thought that. I haven't looked too much into it, but at the minute we've got maybe 2 foreign trips a year with the Hall of Famers.
Right.
So that's good. That'll continue. And then I need to start going to Scotland and England a bit more again too.
Okay.
There's a lot of demand there in Scotland and England. There's actually a waiting list in Scotland.
Really?
For me, yeah. Okay. And I can't keep up with it.
You clone yourself.
I know. It's trying to fit in obviously everything too, because that requires, going away from home for the weekend, traveling for the weekend and stuff. So trying to fit everything in.
What about England? Because England's not where people maybe would think, apart from say maybe Liverpool or maybe Corby, I think, the 2 main places.
I actually done Newcastle recently.
Right.
Newcastle upon Tyne. And there's plenty of work there for me in England too. I'm getting asked to do work over there at the minute too, but it's very different over there.
Yeah.
Very, I was a loyalist too, but it was very different. Very, very different. I don't even know how to properly explain it. So you have your loyalist here. They can take it or leave it. Sometimes in Belfast, if you go to the country, they love it. You go to Scotland, they're queued up for you getting in.
Yeah.
You go to England, and it's like, raw. It's very, very hard to explain. It's just so different. It's like nothing I'd ever experienced.
Like in a good sense, though.
It's good. They start earlier and they finish earlier, which I like.
Right, okay.
I like that. Yeah, the gigs start really early and they finish really early, and everybody goes home and gets like pizza and kebab and all. I'm all for that. I'm all for that, yeah. But it's a bit more kind of, want to say, football-y.
Right, okay.
That's not a word, I just made that
up.
No,
it works. It works, yeah.
So it's a bit more kind of football-y over in England, a bit more like, what's the right word I'm looking for?
It's a wee bit more, well, not in the sense tribal, but it's more that kind of, it's more like a wee bit of a get together kind of thing rather than, and it's once it's over kind of thing. We leave it behind the door when we walk out. It's that kind of thing. Isn't it? Yeah.
And like they have this love for this Ulster thing, but maybe not the full understanding, but the love for it, if you know what I mean. So to them, it's just like a whole big, let's get rowdy, let's get rowdy. No, but I'm interested if anybody's out there offering.
Yeah, no, because one of the things that because when we're mentioning in terms of the Shane Todd podcast and William Thompson, I did an episode, never been released, with William Thompson, was based around, he had done a video with on one of the 12ths, and he was running around asking people questions that they couldn't answer.
Right, okay.
About the 12th, and I invited him on to do an episode where I asked him questions that he probably wouldn't have known the answer to. It was really funny, because whenever I actually did it over in the ACT building across the street here, when he turned up and he came to the door and he says, I'm here for a podcast. And I go, is this the right place? I like going, no, mate, it's where people get kneecapped. I was thinking, going, no, I says, William, it's Glenn, I'm already, come on in. And it's funny too, you see the footage, there's a big, obviously there's the museum aspect there over in the ACT building. And when the shot's on him, there's a big UVF crest in the background for him and stuff. But I was asking him all these questions about, what does this mean? And, what date did the Battle of the Boyne actually take place on and all that kind of stuff. And, and it was interesting because there was stuff he didn't have any answers for. But one of them was in regards to the fact that the longest running 12th of July parade outside of Belfast is Toronto. Toronto's 12th of July parade has been running for over 200 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so there's definitely a thing. There's definitely a thing there, you know what I mean?
There could be business there for me in Toronto.
There probably would be, and what a nice place to go and sing, like, to be honest with you. So
yeah, I would be up for that.
Yeah, so Canadian listeners out there, please give us a wee long, if you need anybody to help you with your gear there, say it to me.
Oh, happy days, that'd be good.
Yeah,
I'll hold you to that. You know the area, didn't you say you're from?
I'm from a wee bit down from there, so I'm from a place called St. Catherine's, which is just about maybe 40 minutes away from Niagara Falls, probably a good hour and a bit away from Toronto. But I'm all for that.
Happy days, I'll keep that in mind.
Brilliant. So, and the other thing that we were talking about earlier, we didn't touch on, was about how you look after your voice now, because you were saying a wee bit just whenever you started off, it was kind of like, don't really do anything about that. But if you want to kind of keep going, you really do have to look after your voice. What does that look like for you now?
Taking better care of myself. I don't. I used to. It's a common thing, like, when you're out and you're having a drink or whatever. I very rarely drink now. Take better care of myself, drink honey, take my vitamins, rest my voice in between gigs and stuff, much to my kids' delight.
Yeah, it has a big impact though. 100%. You don't realise it, because when it's after a while, because I know for that I don't sing anymore, because I wreck my voice doing 3 and 4 hour gigs and stuff like that there, and then you just kind of strain, and all of a sudden you just can't hit the notes that you used to hit before.
That's another thing now too. I don't do the same length of my gigs as what I used to do. I would have thought nothing of going out and doing like a 6 hour gig. Now it's capped 3 hours maximum. Yeah, that's it.
You just can't keep it up, you know what I mean? No. Especially if you are doing a lot of gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, you go, if you were saying, what do you do, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually. Right. Usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, but that's even not there. I mean, you're doing, that's 9 hours worth of singing.
I know.
And that takes its toll on you. So it does,
It's nice to get a wee, I'm thinking in the future too, maybe start thinking about planning a wee bit of weekends off here and there too, you know?
Well, you need that, I think, because I suppose, and that's how you can also keep your longevity a bit more as well, as there to be a bit more sort of ways, I suppose, about, hey, what can we actually handle here? Whereas in the early days, like, oh, let's get out, let's just do everything, let's do it all. Because I even feel like that now with parading and stuff, and I hate saying it, there's sometimes I can like take it or leave it. Yeah. Whereas when I was younger, it was like, never miss a parade. You'll do everything. You'll organise your whole life around that. Whereas now it's like, kind of go, there's other priorities. There's other things that I need to take care of,
Yeah, but that comes with age and all too. Do you think that the young ones now have the same...
I don't know whether they have... I think there are some young people that have the same attitude that we would have had maybe back in the day. But I think more so it's more a case of this isn't the be all and end all for me.
Yeah.
I have other things that I'm involved in. And I think even working patterns that have changed, even, the idea, it used to be loads of people, it's just 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which meant your weekends were free.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case. People are working all sorts of crazy hours and stuff, and they just don't have the same time available. I don't think it's there.
Yeah.
I think for the people who are a damn breed, that they just have this, they're just bond mod or their culture mod or whatever else. There's still a considerable amount there, but I don't think it's as fervent as whenever I was growing up.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think it's the same at all.
I agree.
I think I think it even shows itself even in some of the local areas for, especially around Belfast, maybe around the 12th. I was mentioning about how the crowds have went down on Newton Arch Road and stuff like that as well. But then people have moved out of the areas as well. That's the other thing. The demographics have changed around East Belfast a heck of a lot too.
It's obviously changed the whole way, because I remember it would have been a big thing on the 12th morning. You had to see the parade leaving.
Yeah.
You had to see the parade.
And you had to get to the right spot.
Yeah.
Everybody had their own spot.
And your mum had you up at the screak of dawn the 12th morning. And you were in your clothes and you were down at the bottom of Temporary. Maybe in your house. I'm joking. But now they're even when you go and watch the parade leaving on the 12th morning from down the Newton Arch Road, there's nowhere near the crowds are when it's coming home.
Yeah.
But when it's leaving in the morning,
it's not really there. No, people aren't really. But I even found that at Easter. I found some old photographs of an Easter Monday and an Easter Tuesday parade. The crowd in the avenue was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then I remember I walked Easter Monday, was it last year? And you leave it, and I was like going, hey, there's next to nobody there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But then when we were young too, you were always kind of pushed, even as a wee girl. You were like the junior orange and stuff. You were. There was you were doing it. It was like going to Sunday school on a Sunday. No, you're going to the orange, or you're at the orange actually. No, but you very early.
I know. I didn't know that.
The
juniors are going up now, though. There was a wee article in the paper there recently in terms of there was an event up at Stormont, and there was maybe 150, 200 young people there who were all part of the junior Orange Lodges. That's had a real resurgence in some areas and stuff. But I think the adults joining is a difference now. I think where there's growth in terms of the loyal orders is really the apprentice boys at Derry. That's really where there's been a lot of growth over the years. I think when you watch some of the initiation parades, the length of the clubs are just ridiculous. You know what I mean? You're like kind of going, whoa, wouldn't it be great if great to have that space between the bonds and stuff, whereas some lodges, you're lucky there's 15, 16 people in some of them, so there's an element that we need to address some of that too, So in terms of maybe finishing off, we talked about how we're sometimes perceived. What do you think we can do to, I suppose, help promote our culture positively in a way that kind of moves it away from those media-based stereotypes?
If the positives are there within our community, like you ask, I know, there's so many positives in our community. They're there. You ask anybody in the Protestant community about things that are going on behind the scenes, they'll be able to tell you about band parades being run that are the money's given to a chosen charity every year. You've got the Light of Foot highlighting the mental health. Seen during COVID and even things like that, care packages and meals given to pensioners from bandsmen and stuff. There's so much positives within our community, but it's very, very hard for people to see that when they're being drip fed a negative narrative.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the sock under the bed, in the night, it looks like a monster because you can't see the whole picture. Yeah. And I think that's how we've came to look. I think a big thing is too, for Protestant people and maybe people like myself, is not to be ashamed of being a Protestant, not to be ashamed of being a unionist or a loyalist, but carry on as we are. There's part of me wants to say, why should we constantly have to prove ourselves?
Yeah.
Why are we proving ourselves too? We're proving ourselves too. Why?
Yeah.
We know we're good people. There's good people within our. There's good things happening behind the scenes, but that's just not the way the world works. The only thing I can, is, do we be more inclusive? Do we, I can give you an example. I took a young person from the other side of the community to the First of July parade last year, and they were completely shocked. Number one, by how much they enjoyed themselves. And number two, how well they were looked after, and there was no secret made about where they were from.
Yeah.
And if anything, they were welcomed even more because of that. Come you to the front, see the bands.
Sure.
Took in I think maybe a bit more, if we can try and include, and show
And I think it's about people taking a risk, though, Lisa, as
Yeah.
well. In terms of, because I think the fear factor sometimes comes about because there may be the idea that, well, if we bring other people outside, we may just confirm their fears.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is, if we don't take the opportunity to really show what we're like, we just further confirm the fears because of
Yeah.
what is it you've got?
Yeah.
What is it you've got to hide?
Yeah.
And I think what you're talking about there is whenever you bring people along like that and they get to stand beside and see, they actually are coming from a place of understanding rather than
Yeah.
I have some knowledge
Yeah.
of this, or they have a little bit of something that they think that they know.
Yeah.
But when they've actually had the experience of being there, it kind of changes.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, there's actually a number of scientific experiments that have been done around how people will perceive particular groupings of people.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that this was done with, I think, was with the Romani Gypsy community.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they got someone from a non-Romani community to walk alongside someone from this and just walk a particular route. And then have to repeat it a number of times throughout over a course of time. What they found was that as they walked along with them, the nature of their conversation changed and their opinions of each other changed as they actually had walked with each other. And I almost have the idea of, wouldn't it be amazing if we could have some people visit and just walk the route with us?
Yeah.
And be a part of the whole thing. And I know that would cause some issues and stuff like that there, but I just kind of think when you look at that type of thing, why wouldn't we potentially want to even try something like that?
Exactly, I agree with you. It's very easy to be offended. You also see, like, when you've got the fella going on and stuff and you've got the wolf tones singing at the fella, and I look along my newsfeed and I see people in my community being offended by that, and I often think to myself, and this might not be a popular opinion, to be honest with you, but I often think to myself, well, number one, it'd be very, very hypocritical of me, given what I do, if I was offended by somebody else enjoying their culture, and and think maybe that's a bit more understanding.
There's an element of that, and I think it's a tight, again, it's a thin line, in regards to that, and I get, if there's certain things being glorified, that that some people will take offense to that, and in some cases, rightly so.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, and I think, but as you say, I think we need to have that mirror, on ourselves as well. To think, what, there may be some things that are not really, we shouldn't really be glorifying at all. You know what I mean? We need to be mindful of that.
I often think to myself, I don't sing what I sing to cause anybody any offense. It's part of my culture, and them songs are what they are. They were appropriately written at that period of time. Perhaps they're not just as appropriate now, but they were appropriately written at that period of time. They're not meant to cause offense. I enjoy my culture. I don't enjoy it to offend anybody else. I don't like the thoughts of offending anybody else, to be honest with you. I don't really particularly have hate in me. But I should be able to enjoy my culture. It's not meant to cause offense.
Yeah. So just going to end off with a couple of questions around things like songs and stuff like that as well. So it's just like a quick fire kind of thing. That's it. Quick fire kind of stuff. So favorite song that you love singing?
Loyalist song?
No, just in general.
In general? Why could you not have sent me a list of these beforehand? That's like
I just thought of that as we were talking.
Did you? Right, okay. Favorite song ever?
That really gets you, like when you're singing it, you kind of go, man, I love singing this song.
What the flip? I've just like a brain fart. Favorite song ever like singing?
Why don't we come back?
We'll come back to that one. That's a good idea.
Let's do the one you thought you were awesome for. So what's your favorite Loyalist song to sing?
Favorite Loyalist song would Coming Down the Road.
Right, okay. And is there a reason behind that
Because
choice?
the crowd always loves it.
Right.
The crowd always goes mental when you sing that one. So that's always good.
All right,
And I also remember like the Coming Down the Road is a big one from the Ulster Hall, where I remember like was the very first song and the music didn't come on at the start of it and stuff. And
right, okay. But there's a big historical connection to the tune in terms of that as well.
Yeah.
Just in regards to the lyrics. Loyalist song that you could do without ever singing again?
Oh, I'm probably going to offend people no matter what I say.
How's that go?
Orange Lily.
Right, okay. Then I'll not ask why.
It's just the beat of it. It's literally just
Maybe that's one of those ones that needs a revamp then.
yeah.
I love the way you just kind of went, I'm doomed.
No, not that one. No.
Alrighty. And in terms, if there's a song that you've never been able to sing, either because of range or whatever else, that you'd love to have been able to sing,
I Vow to Thee, My Country.
right?
I think we attempted it a few times. Wasn't great, and it's not. I don't think it would be perceived well either.
Okay.
I don't think it's the right tempo for starters for Side Spices.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it was one I always wanted to do.
And what's the most requested song you get asked for?
Penny Arcade.
Penny Arcade, right?
Penny Arcade or Number One Platoon, which I always have to explain. I don't do Number One Platoon.
Right.
That's for Platoon to sing, you know.
Right.
So yeah, and then I get asked for it again. Then I explain again.
Yeah.
Still don't do it.
Okay. Dead on. So is that one's completely off your repertoire? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I
Dead
don't
on.
have the backing track for it, if I'm completely honest.
All right. Well, somebody has a backing track. And then we'll go back to the
Favorite all-time song.
Favorite all-time song to sing.
Still can't think.
No, we'll do. We'll run a wee competition here, right? But after the episode's finished, Lisa will come up with what that song is, right?
Yeah.
So if you put in a
Like on
comment,
playlist?
what you could do, I think
Right.
this could work. But I tell you what, if you're out there and you're listening and you want to come up with a song that you think might be Lisa's favorite ever all time song to sing,
Not Loyalist.
not Loyalist,
Right.
all right. And if whoever gets it right, we'll see about Lisa giving you a free CD. How's that sound?
Oh, absolutely.
Brilliant. There we go. Happy days. There we are.
Absolutely.
So get into the comments in regards to what you think it is. I mean, obviously this is as wide open as it gets.
Big time.
Because it could be absolutely anything. But if there is someone there who gets it, then we'll see about getting you a copy of a CD from Lisa.
Yeah. Maybe even take them to a gig for a night.
Well, there you go. There you have it. They're behind the scenes VIP treatment.
Not many
at the
people
gig.
have CD players these days, so I
That's
might
it.
just need to take them
Do
to a
that thing
gig.
with USBs.
I'm going to have to actually. It's another thing. Moving with the times too. I'm going to have to think about, because there is a list there, and I have been like speaking to the guy from the recording studio about doing another CD, and it's actually older songs, because some of them would maybe shock you, like
Sure.
say, Carrick Fergus and stuff.
Right. Okay. Good.
But remaking them in
Yeah.
my way. So that has been in talks for probably about 3 years now, to be honest with you, and just not getting anywhere with it. So
Sure. And what is that in terms of just getting musicians together, or just finding
Me.
space? You getting
me
space?
finding space, and I've maybe changed the song list about twice as well.
Okay.
The guy who records it, him getting space. I need to bring in musicians as well to do, but they can come and do their parts at any time. But there's another thing I need to think about too. I'm away is bringing out a CD, because who has CD players?
Well, this is it. But I think if you can go down, because I actually got the latest the Oma Protestant Boys recording, and it's actually on a wee pen drive, but it's actually shaped like a guitar. Funny, I was hoping that I would have got one shaped like a flute.
Yeah.
But it was shaped like a guitar, and you just take the fretboard away from the
goodness.
guitar, and that's the plug-in. But it comes in a really nice case and everything as well. It looks really well. I have to
Yeah.
say,
Maybe that's the way forward.
Maybe it is a way forward, although they are more expensive.
Yeah.
So they are. So in terms of getting them done, I think I'm near sure they're more expensive to get done than
Yeah, to get made.
CDs. Somebody could correct me on that out there, but no, definitely would. Well, say if there's anything I could do to help you with that, there, you just have to say,
Happy
it'd
days.
be
Thank
great
you
to
very
do.
much.
But Lisa, it has been absolutely fantastic
for having
you
me.
in. So
Thank
it's
you.
been great to have the conversation. Good to have a laugh and good to kind of
you.
hear a wee bit about your story. And maybe there are people out there that don't know that side of your story
Yeah.
either, and it's great to share. So thank you very much.
Thank you
Really,
very
really
much for having
appreciate
me.
it.
Thank you for having
No,
me. I appreciate
brilliant.
that. Thank you.
Good.
Thanks.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Lisa. Absolutely brilliant to kind of get an insight into her background story and just some of the experiences that she's had over the years. She's been an absolute staple of the scene for over 20 years, and nice to have seen her in a slightly different light here without a microphone in her hand singing songs and stuff. And I hope that you get behind this episode and you like, comment and share this with anyone you think that may be actually interested in that as well. So thank you very much for tuning in. Until the next time, look after yourselves and take it easy.